See, Michael, this is why I keep saying why we can't check out of elections, because we know what we are up against, and these folks, their racist views are there. These are the same people. They are pissed off. They are pissed off with immigration. Oh, you see, you got the black HUD secretary. The reason there's a housing crisis because of these illegals. Now you got these same white folks in America pissed off with immigration. Look at Paris. It's so ghetto. Well, actually, Paris is the ghetto in France, you stupid asses. But it's the ghetto, and they're angry. Look at this. All these Muslims, and they're complaining about it in Germany and Italy and all different places. But I need people to understand the role that media plays. This was a story in the New York Times earlier this month. Nick Fuentes was Charlie Kirk's bitter enemy. Now he's becoming his successor. But I want you to look at the photo here. See, you got the photo here, this James Dean-esque rebel photo here, as they sort of lay the story out, talking about Nick Fuentes. And if I go back here, Michael, what you'll see is there have been 4 or 5 or 6 pieces in the New York Times. And so Nick Fuentes is sitting here going, oh, yes, y'all, please keep writing about me. You're making me more popular. You're now spreading my message. And see, that's really why people were attacking Tucker Carlson, because they said, Tucker, what you're doing is you are mainstreaming this absolute virulent racist asshole. And he's gleefully enjoying all of it.
Yeah, so I have a few comments here. So Nick Fuentes is another mediocre, uneducated white boy, and it appears he at least attended college. I'm not sure if he graduated, but at least he attended college. But this is so you see the positioning that some in the Republican Party are trying to take because they don't want to condemn him, but this could also cause a fracturing in the Republican Party as well. So when we look at just some of the things that he said, right, and hitting on what you talked about with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, that was 45 years in the making, going back to 1980. Just so people understand, mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. And we see we see how these policies that are being put in place by the Trump administration are devastating to African Americans. If Nick Fuentes gains more prominence and continues to spew this venom, this anti-blackness, this anti-Semitism, personally, I think there's going to be a black tidal wave where people realize, oh shit, no, we have to stop this. I think there's going to be a lot of black people who sat out of the 2024 presidential election. They hear some nonsense like this, and then they see Republicans not condemning it. It's like, yeah, Democrats are not perfect, but they're definitely not this nonsense over here. So, and when we look at you, so you talked about your book, White Fear, and I encourage people to look at the piece from the Atlantic magazine from 2017, looking at the 2016 presidential election. And they said that non-college educated white people did not vote for Trump because of economic issues. They said it was because of cultural anxiety. It was the fear of the browning of America and the fear that by the year 2043, white people would no longer be the majority population in this country. And there was a fear of what would happen to white people when they are a minority in this country. Then when the 2020 census came out, it said that white people were 57% of the population. That was the first time the percentage of white people in this country dropped below 60% since 1790. Okay? And I would argue that the 2024 presidential election was not about the price of groceries. It was about white genetic survival and what happens when they become a minority population. The same thing as 2016. So listening to this, and I hope people make this segment go viral. This should get 2 million views. Black people need to wake the hell up, because when you read Project 2025, they're coming for all of this shit. This is a counter set to wipe out all the gains that black people made from the civil rights movement, the social justice movement, after the death of George Floyd, all of this. They're coming for all of this and taking us back to 1890 and the Mississippi State Convention, when they rewrote the state constitution to impose poll taxes, literacy tests, and lock African Americans out of political power.
To tell people what is going on. We told you prior to this election what is going on. Folks, their movement is on steroids. Oh, it's here. And trust me, when we don't vote, when we sit out, when we say, oh, I'm picking the couch, all they're saying is, thank you. Because black people, you make our job a lot easier. All right, family, the 1800s, when we talk about the racists in the country, Democratic Party, especially the Southern Democrats, founders of the KKK. Fast forward, Jim Crow, Southern Democrats. That's right, opposing civil rights, standing up for Jim Crow. Then you get to the 60s. Yeah, a lot of Republicans. People like William F. Buckley. They were supportive of civil rights, but then all of a sudden, Barry Goldwater wrote a book that changed everything. He opposed the 1964 Civil Rights Act, and all of a sudden, the Republican Party began to not just shift right, but also began to fully embrace racist. You look at the Southern strategy. A lot of white people were upset that Democrats chose to embrace civil rights, which meant embracing black people. And so really ever since the 1964 election, you've seen significant shift. Ever since then, you have not seen a Democrat win a majority of the white vote. White folks align with Republicans. Now, that's not to say that all white folks are racist. But see, remember when I talk about racism, y'all, I always say that the problem when we talk about racism, we go, somebody's racist, somebody's not racist. But the real issue is all the stuff that's in between the two. That's really what it speaks to. When I wrote my book, White Fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. Why did I pick this photo? I picked this photo because this is from January 6th. This is a white man who's standing there with his arms outstretched. And really, I saw the photo, and what he was saying was, all of this is ours. Because you got to remember, they were angry. Trump was angry with how black folks voted in Atlanta. And he kept talking about Fulton County, Atlanta, Philadelphia, black, Detroit, black, Milwaukee, black. He did a partial recount in Wisconsin. Where? Milwaukee. Black people. You might remember that the head of the Michigan Republican Party said, let's count all the votes in Michigan except Detroit. I wonder why. So what are you now seeing? You've seen the Republican Party stand with Confederates. Who defends the monuments? The very people, Republican Party, radical Republicans behind the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment. Who are the folks who now are defending the racist monuments? Republicans. Who's bringing them back? Pete Hegseth, Trump, Republicans. So now what we're really seeing, when you look at the racist attacks, Charlie Kirk, Republicans loved him. Now they claim, oh no, Charlie was never racist. Charlie never did such things. Charlie was about truth. No, he was saying some racist shit. Then you have the guy who couldn't stand Charlie Kirk, who has a group called them the Groypers. Oh, Nick Fuentes. Oh my goodness. So many young white boys love them some Nick Fuentes. What have we now seen the past month? Oh my God, we have seen New York Times do a huge story on Nick Fuentes and what he's trying to do. We've seen Tucker Carlson sit down, and because of Tucker Carlson's interview, you had the head of the Heritage Foundation, the folks behind Project 2025, say, well, we shouldn't be running folks off. That's now set off a whole chain of folks resigning, quitting, being pissed off with Kevin Roberts, who leads the Heritage Foundation, say, how dare we sit here and stand with open anti-Semitic racists? You got Ben Shapiro, who's full of shit on the right. Oh, he's been angry. He's been angry with Tucker and the right-wingers who stand with Nick Fuentes. You may ask, well, who is the Fuentes guy? What is he talking about? Well, first, lately, he said that he's going to infiltrate the Republican Party. He plans to build an organization to pressure Republicans by developing what he called elite human capital and mapping out or attacking his pro-Israel foes, because he's vehemently anti-Israel. I mean, he's a acknowledged racist and anti-Semite. He don't even being called an anti-Semite. Listen.
And asked Carlson about his recent platforming of white nationalist and vehement anti-Semite. I'm starting to like it when they call me that. Careful what you wish for, cocksuckers. I'm starting to like that. I used to get mad, like earlier in the week, my stomach was in knots because every article was like vehement anti-Semite, Hitler worshiper. But then I had a change in perspective, which is there any real nigga out there that isn't called this? Or throughout history, all of the realest niggas in history were virulent anti-Semites and racists. Can a nigga just pop off real quick? George Washington, racist. Abraham Lincoln, racist. Christopher Columbus, racist. Jesus split the veil. His parting gift is that he tore the veil covering the Holy of Holies and shook the earth. So the more that I read that, I'm just translating it in my head as real nigga. When people say white nationalist, racist, anti-Semite, Nick Fuentes, I'm just reading badass motherfucker. I'm just reading real ass nigga. I don't care anymore. Say it. No one cares anymore. Keep saying it. Every time you say it, it loses power. Because I'm really not a hateful person. Like, I'm not filled with prejudice and bigotry. People say he's a bigot. I'm really not. Like, I love everybody. I have friends from all different backgrounds. But keep saying it. It loses its power every time. You want to bring that on yourself? Go ahead. Bring it on yourself. All people are going to say is we don't care about those labels anymore. And actually, they signal that someone is a rebel. That just means I'm legit. That just means I'm a revolutionary. And what's Ben Shapiro? Ben Shapiro hates Goyim. Ben Shapiro thinks all whites are Jew haters. He thinks that Arabs bomb crap and live in sewage. He doesn't get called a racist because he's part of the Jewish system. So he's a conservative activist. Well, that just means pussy. That means I'm the real deal. I read that in the New York Times. I read that in the Washington Post. I like that shit. Keep it up. Racist. Anti-Semite, virulent racist. I saw it from my friend Clyde in the New York Times. Clyde McCready said, the rise of Nick Fuentes, the 27-year-old white nationalist, and his young racist anti-Semitic Groyper movement. There's something else he wrote about me, too. He said I'm an avowedly racist anti-Semite. I just read that and I'm like, based? It says the struggle and its stakes for the nation burst into view after the conservative commentator Tucker Carlson last week offered a friendly interview to Mr. Fuentes, an avowedly racist anti-Semite. I read that and I was like, I don't care. Fine. You know who else was an avowed anti-Semite? Mel Gibson, Michael Jackson, Kanye West, Richard Nixon. I just got my ticket punched. I'm in the real ass nigga club. Stalin, Wagner, Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh. Yeah, welcome to the club.
Now, this is what Nick had to say about this new generation.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me. And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a fuck.
Here's Nick talking about literacy tests.
30% of voters can't name all 3 branches of government, 13% can't name even one, and only 7% know all 5 First Amendment freedoms. 80% can't locate Iraq or Afghanistan on a map. Would you support a modern voter literacy test to incentivize more informed voting? Or any other solutions to incentivize more informed voting?
Maybe. I don't know. That's just like idiotic. You know, thinking the problem is like uninformed people are voting. Uninformed people are the only thing keeping the country going. The 20% of people that could find Iraq on a map are all liberals, okay? The 20% of informed voters that could find Iraq on a map, it's probably like 2% are veterans and 18% are like lib shits that went to college. It's probably like 2% veterans, 2% like talk radio boomers who are like, nah. And then the other 16% are liberals that went to college. So no. I'll be the first to say, if we had a voter literacy test, Democrat landslide imminent. And it would disqualify all blacks. It would disqualify 80% of Hispanics. But you know who would be voting? College-educated whites and Asians, and they're all liberal. So, no. That's not the issue. That wouldn't solve nothing.
Thrasimic has sent.
Things would get worse faster.
Thrasimic has sent $21.
Nick has some thoughts on Jim Crow.
It was better for them, too, number one. But number two, who cares? Who cares? You know, enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, they had to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh, no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up. Drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water. It's the same. You know? And, you know, even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. Better in general.
Better for them and better for us. Well, there's a whole big dust up on the right, and Donald Trump was asked about this whole blow up and his thoughts about Nick Fuentes.
To the formula, yeah.
Mr. President, Tucker Carlson recently had a friendly interview with anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. Tucker Carlson. What role do you think Tucker Carlson could play in the Republican Party and the conservative movement going forward?
Well, I found him to be good. I mean, he said good things about me over the years. I think he's good. We've had some good interviews. I did an interview with him. We had 300 million hits. You know that. Look, I can't tell him. Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, you know, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide. The mayor of New York, I will say, would like to meet with us, and we'll work something out. But he would like to come to Washington and meet, and we'll work something out. We want to see everything work out well for New York.
You yourself had dinner with Nick Fuentes at Mar-a-Lago a few years ago. What role should he play in the conservative movement?
Well, I didn't know he was coming, and he was with, as you know, somebody, Kanye. And Kanye asked if he could have dinner, and he brought Nick. I didn't know Nick at the time. And he did. He came, and along with a few other people. He brought a few people with him. Meeting people, talking to people, like for somebody like Tucker, that's what they do. You know, people are controversial. Some are, some aren't. I'm not controversial, so I like it that way. Okay.
So you notice how he said that, oh, yeah, Kanye brought Nick to meet lunch, and I didn't know Nick. Well, you know him now. You know what he says. Ben Shapiro, who I think is an absolutely atrocious racist asshole, he is not being silent about criticizing Nick Fuentes.
Here was Steve Bannon over the weekend, for example, praising Nick Fuentes. Again, the reason this is happening, we should point out, is because there is an attempt to glaze pretty much everybody who is on the anti-Israel, and yes, Fuentes is just an anti-Semite, anti-Semitic side, in order to shift policy priorities away from what President Trump is attempting to do.
Alex Jones had a debate with Nick Fuentes and Dinesh D'Souza. And you cannot you see right there the laziness, the lack of argument, the their attitude that they just own this. Fuentes takes this guy apart brick by brick. It's a full takedown. It's a full takedown because the kid shows up. He's prepped. He's ready. Not only is he on point and he's always on attack, he happens to have something called facts, and he just overwhelms Dinesh. Dinesh goes back, and it shows you this old guard who has nothing.
Again, it's fascinating to watch as all these people make quasi-allies of people like Nick Fuentes.
And, of course, you know Marjorie Taylor Greene. She had to have a few words to say.
You're talking about lowering the rhetoric, which is important for everybody to hear from you and all of our elected officials. But there is some concern, a lot of concern among Republicans about the rise of anti-Semitic hard-right figures in your movement, especially after Tucker Carlson hosted white nationalist Nick Fuentes on his podcast, didn't question Fuentes about his vile language or views. You did speak at a conference hosted by Fuentes back in 2022. You were criticized, and you said then that you didn't know about his views. Well, Fuentes talked to Carlson about that in the interview. Listen to what he said.
Well, again, with Marjorie, I was a friend of hers, and she spoke at my conference, and then the day after, she pretended like she didn't know me. She pretended like she didn't know me and lied and said I had no idea the conference I was speaking at. She knew exactly what it was.
What do you say to that?
Well, first of all, I defend every single person's free speech rights. I think that's incredibly important. So I don't apologize for that, and I don't believe in canceling people. And I think it's important for people like Tucker Carlson and yourself to interview everyone. I don't believe in trying to cancel someone by refusing to interview them and question them. And I did speak at his conference back in 2022. However, I don't know Nick Fuentes. He's someone I've never exchanged text messages with or phone calls, but I did speak at his conference. That was the first time I had met him that day, and that was it. But I did watch the interview. I watched the full interview with Tucker, and I admire him for interviewing many people as well as exposing a lot of powerful information.
I hear what you're saying.
Does on his show.
I hear what you're saying about free speech. I mean, count me as guilty as a proponent of free speech. Mm-hmm. There's free speech, and then there is hate speech. And this is a man invited on a really prominent conservative show who said, even during that interview, he had a problem with, quote, organized Jewry, and he wasn't challenged on it. In the past, he has denied the Holocaust, called Adolf Hitler effing cool, talked about the fact that he thought Jim Crow was just fine, and on and on. So again, there's free speech, and then there's just hateful language and sentiments.
Well, Dana, again, I told you on this interview that I'm committed to ending the toxic politics, and I think I don't want to have anything to do with it. You should have Nick Fuentes on your show, and you could ask him questions about that. I myself am.
Boy, it's so hard for them to actually condemn the hate, isn't it? So let's take Kevin Roberts. He leads the Heritage Foundation. So he has been under a lot of pressure because there are so many other Republicans. They're calling them elite Republicans, old school Republicans who have been upset. A number of people have resigned from the Heritage Foundation, including close aides of his, because of his defense of Tucker Carlson reaching out and interviewing Nick Fuentes. And Kevin Roberts is saying, hey, we need those guys in the fold. Listen.
I want to speak plainly, both as president of the Heritage Foundation and also as an American who understands the urgency of this moment. Leadership requires owning the moments where we fall short, then using them to reset, refocus, and recommit. I talked about this today, as you may have seen, during our Heritage All-Staff Town Hall. I'm so grateful for my amazing colleagues. My use of the phrase venomous coalition was a terrible choice of words. It caused justified concern, especially among friends and allies who know how seriously Heritage has fought and continues to fight against the rise of anti-Semitism. Everyone has the responsibility to speak up against the scourge of anti-Semitism, no matter the messenger. Heritage and I will do so, even when my friend Tucker Carlson needs challenging. My Heritage colleagues know, as do you, the work ahead is too important. Our conservative movement must be willing to wrestle with hard conversations, not avoid them. Last night's election results demonstrate this. The need of this moment is clear. We must articulate a bold, positive vision that convinces Americans that conservative policies will revitalize the American dream. The left isn't slowing down. If we want to win, truly win, we must grow stronger in every way. Here is what we are focused on moving forward. Standing for strong families, because no society survives without them. Advocating for the dignity of work and free enterprise, because it's how people build meaning and sustain freedom. Defending national sovereignty, because a country that doesn't protect itself isn't a country. And restoring citizenship as a sacred trust, rooted in virtue, liberty, and faith. It's not just policy, it's purpose. So to each of you working the long hours, holding the line, doing the unglamorous tasks that keep this mission moving, I see you. I'm grateful. And I want you to know we're in this together. Movements like ours are not weakened by adversity. We are sharpened by it. Let's take what we've learned. Let's recommit. And by all means, let's go win.
By all means, let's go win. I want everybody watching to understand that that really is the goal of all of this. See, the Republican Party has always been quite comfortable with racism. They understand it. I played it before, but Lee Atwater, when he talked about language that you no longer can use, but there's other language you can use that's going to achieve the same result of getting out the white races. See, the Klan endorsed Trump. The KKK, they're not comfortable in today's Democratic Party. Well, they're quite comfortable in the Republican Party. Former Klan leader David Duke, remember? He ran for office. What did he run as? A Republican. When you look at these white supremacists, these militia groups, you look at the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, who do they align with? Trump, MAGA, and the Republican Party. And so what do you have here? You have this racist Nick Fuentes, who's appealing to this whole group of young, disenfranchised white boys, angry and upset that white women and black folks, Asians, Native Americans, Latinos, they're taking our jobs. They're stealing from us the land that was once ours. We're losing. We're losing our way. We're losing our birthright. This was all ours. We were not destined to share this with those ingrates. But I hope y'all also noticed that the Ben Shapiros of the world, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, all of these people, see, they are attacking Fuentes for anti-Semitism. They are very silent about his racism against black people. See, Kevin Roberts doesn't want to admit it, but his Project 2025 is anti-black. It is an absolute anti-black agenda. Those are facts. See, the reason he's in trouble because he criticized Vietnamese coalitions of conservatives who were attacking Tucker Carlson. And so they were like, wait, hold on. You're defending Tucker who interviewed this violent racist? Yes. And it wasn't that Tucker Carlson interviewed them. It was Ed Tucker Carlson, literally gave him no pushback. It was quite enjoyable conversation between the two. See, it wasn't like when I had Richard Spencer on, when I challenged that racist on his white supremacist views. See, what I need y'all to understand, that the Republican Party needs white racists. The Republican Party needs this generation of young white boys, these millennials, these Gen Xers, these Gen Zs. They need to cultivate young white boys of Gen Alpha so they can say, you're losing. Staying with us, and we're going to get your birthright back. See, y'all gotta understand, this is American history. We've always seen this. We've always seen what their goal was, to get to the hearts and minds of young folks. So see, Nick Fuentes, he's serving a very clear purpose for the Republican Party. See, what Donald Trump has done, Donald Trump has said, hey, guess what? We good. You can be racist. You can be anti-Semitic. You ain't got to worry about it because you're good. Remember that guy, Paul Ingracia? The one when those text messages, the Signal Chat group was released? He said he had a Nazi streak. And remember, Trump was going to appoint him to a White House position, and they had to pull the nomination because Republicans said, no, we ain't down with it. Y'all know Trump gave him another job, right? They didn't fire him. What Donald Trump and MAGA has said is that if you are a racist, you're more than welcome to serve in our administration. In fact, we welcome you. And we know the person who's standing there ready to hand you your Confederate flag is Stephen Miller. See, what we have to recognize, and y'all, I've only been saying this now for 16 years. I said in 2009, here we are living in the beginning stages of white minority resistance. That's literally what I said in 2009 as John Avlon and I were waiting to go on CNN. John's now in Congress. Here we stand 16 years later. That's what's going on. So the Republican Party knows that they cannot exist in the future unless they are consistently cultivating hate among white voters. And so then I can cultivate hate among these white voters, and then let me cultivate hate among these white Hispanics, and then let me cultivate hate among these minority folk who hate black folks, including self-hating black people. All of a sudden, we have a recipe to victory. Because it's about power, folks. And so there's a reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene won't condemn Fuentes. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene needs his followers to vote for her. And every Republican, they know exactly what they need. They need them voting. So don't think for a second the Republican Party is going to distance themselves from Nick Fuentes. Oh, no, absolutely not. Oh, trust me. And see, Fuentes is not so focused on the accoutrements of acceptance among the party. Because what Nick Fuentes knows is that he doesn't need them to give him a speaking slot at the Republican National Convention. He doesn't need them to invite him to their gatherings. Because what he knows is, even though a lot of them may not show up at his conferences in the future, they sure as hell want his followers to vote for them. Candace, your thoughts?
And what Tucker Carlson did was push him way beyond his 1 million followers. I mean, that particular clip, that particular show has been out to 20 million people. I think what's really interesting, Roland, is that Nick Fuentes has always said that he is going to create disorder, create a civil war. But really what he's doing is creating a separate party. He doesn't mean to dismantle everything. He's trying to figure out how he can infiltrate, as he said, the Republican Party. And as you said, they have no choice but to have conversations with themselves right now to figure out where he's going to fit in. Marjorie Taylor Greene may have broken from Trump and is making all of these polite appearances on CNN, but she knows, just like you said, that's her base. And this base is growing. These are mostly, 20 to 30-year-olds, all the voters up to 30, even people working on his team, almost 100% people under 30 years old who are still forming, developing, right? Some of their brains aren't even fully developed yet. These are all vulnerable people. There is more to come. They are signing up. They are lining up for Nick Fuentes. So whether you believe in his politics or not, you have to really look at him and understand that he's making movement, and the Republicans have to pay attention because they need the votes. These younger voters are coming out and did come out in droves, and they're doing it quietly now. But once they get all of the co-signing from the Republicans, they'll be out in the open, just like we saw all the other races come out in the open that weren't showing their faces before Obama was president. We better be careful. We got to watch and wait and see exactly what's going to happen. And as you said, it's not just young white people. It's young black people, too.
See, Michael, this is why I keep saying why we can't check out of elections, because we know what we are up against. And these folks, their racist views are there. These are the same people. They are pissed off. They are pissed off with immigration. Oh, you see, you got the black HUD secretary. The reason there's a housing crisis because of these illegals. Now you got these same white folks in America pissed off with immigration. Look at Paris. It's so ghetto. Well, actually, Paris is the ghetto in France, you stupid asses. But it's the ghetto, and they're angry. Look at this. All these Muslims, and they're complaining about it in Germany and Italy and all different places. But I need people to understand the role that media plays. This was a story in the New York Times earlier this month. Nick Fuentes was Charlie Kirk's bitter enemy. Now he's becoming his successor. But I want you to look at the photo here. See, you got the photo here, this James Dean-esque rebel photo here, as they sort of lay the story out talking about Nick Fuentes. And if I go back here, Michael, what you'll see is there have been 4 or 5 or 6 pieces in the New York Times. And so Nick Fuentes is sitting here going, oh, yes, y'all, please keep writing about me. You're making me more popular. You're now spreading my message. And see, that's really why people were attacking Tucker Carlson, because they said, Tucker, what you're doing is you are mainstreaming this absolute virulent racist asshole. And he's gleefully enjoying all of it.
Yeah, so I have a few comments here. So Nick Fuentes is another mediocre, uneducated white boy, and it appears he at least attended college. I'm not sure if he graduated, but at least he attended college. But this is so you see the positioning that some in the Republican Party are trying to take because they don't want to condemn him, but this could also cause a fracturing in the Republican Party as well. So when we look at just some of the things that he said, right, and hitting on what you talked about with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, that was 45 years in the making, going back to 1980. Just so people understand, mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. And we see we see how these policies that are being put in place by the Trump administration are devastating to African Americans. If Nick Fuentes gains more prominence and continues to spew this venom, this anti-blackness, this anti-Semitism, personally, I think if there's going to be a black tidal wave where people realize, oh shit, no, we have to stop this. I think there's going to be a lot of black people who sat out of the 2024 presidential election they hear some nonsense like this, and then they see Republicans not condemning it. It's like, yeah, Democrats are not perfect, but they're definitely not this nonsense over here. So, and when we look at you, so you talked about your book, White Fear, and I encourage people to look at the piece from the Atlantic magazine from 2017, looking at the 2016 presidential election. And they said that non-college educated white people did not vote for Trump because of economic issues. They said it was because of cultural anxiety. It was the fear of the browning of America and the fear that by the year 2043, white people would no longer be the majority population in this country. And there was a fear of what would happen to white people when they are a minority in this country. Then when the 2020 census came out, it said that white people were 57% of the population. That was the first time the percentage of white people in this country dropped below 60% since 1790. Okay. And I would argue that the 2024 presidential election was not about the price of groceries. It was about white genetic survival and what happens when they become a minority population. The same thing as 2016. So listening to this, and I hope people make this segment go viral. This should get 2 million views. Black people need to wake the hell up, because when you read Project 2025, they're coming for all of this shit. This is a counter set to wipe out all the gains that black people made from the civil rights movement, the social justice movement, after the death of George Floyd, all of this. They're coming for all of this and taking us back to 1890 and the Mississippi State Convention, when they rewrote the state constitution to impose poll taxes, literacy tests, and lock African Americans out of political power.
To tell people what is going on. We told you prior to this election what is going on. Folks, their movement is on steroids. Oh, it's here. And trust me, when we don't vote, when we sit out, when we say, oh, I'm picking the couch, all they're saying is, thank you. Because black people, you make our job a lot easier.
Visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can register for this new 10-week online course. So we're going to teach this on Sundays, normally 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're running late today. So as soon as I finish this broadcast, I was going to start the class about 5:30 p.m. today. Because it's a holiday weekend, I'm going to do a quick introduction to the class, so you could join us for that. The class is on sale, $80. You get 5 of my lectures free in digital download format, okay, when you register for this as well. Click right here, register here. You can do debit card, credit card, what have you. If you want to do it through Cash App, send it through our Cash App is here, $ the AHN show through Cash App. You click on the link. It takes you here. And if you send it through Cash App, follow it up with an email. You can email me through the website right here, contact the African History Network at the top. If you send it through Cash App, follow up with an email, let me know you sent the registration through Cash App. And this is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show, SHOW. When you go to it, it'll say Michael. These are some fake African History Network Cash App accounts that have been stealing money from us. So still trying to get them shut down. Here's our PayPal link right here. Also, okay. So this is African empires, the Moors, and the transatlantic slave trade, 5000 BC to 1800 AD. Okay. So this is a new 10-week online course that I'm teaching. I've been teaching online history classes going back to 2017. And, I put these classes together, put together the curriculum. There are about 200 slides in this class, 80 to 100 articles that we reference, 15 books. You don't have to buy any of the books. I'll show you screenshots of the book as well. The content is PG-13. You can use this with your children, okay? And it's very engaging. It is interactive also. There's a class chat, so you can ask me questions in the class also. You can see me, I can't see you, so You don't have to worry about that. All right. Okay, look, we're about to get out of here. Remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. Because right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever.